Hi everyone, today we're going to sketch a Wyvern. That's a two-legged dragon with wings for arms. I'll take you through the step-by-step outline so you can build your own Wyvern from scratch. And if you want to see how to bring it to life with shading and texture, I'll be adding a follow-up video where we add all the details. So grab your pencil and let's get started. I'm using a HB pencil for this so the lines aren't too dark. And we're going to start with the head in the top left of the page near the centre. And essentially sketch a oval shape, fairly large, which is just the outline for how we'll shape the dragon's head. To sketch out the neck, draw a curving line down towards the centre of the page. And now we'll sketch an outline for the body. So curve downwards to the middle of the page, and then softly back upwards, a bit like an egg shape. We'll now outline the left-hand wing, like a tooth shape. Start at the top, curve round and back up towards the chin, and draw a little line in for the left-hand arm. On the right side, the arm is going to be curved, so draw a kind of elbow in the middle, coming from the body. Now we'll draw the right-hand wing, which is much wider, and start in the middle, round the top, and back underneath, meeting the arm. Next, the legs. Draw a mini oval joining the body on the left side, and do the same on the right. And these are the upper thighs. We want to curve downwards in a sort of triangle shape for both the legs. And to finish the outline, we'll do the tail. So it comes from the back of the body, just roughly follow around, start underneath the wing, curve outwards and leave a little club shape on the end. So that's the sketch outline done. Now let's go into some detail. We'll start with the head, and we're going to do the outline. So use jagged lines for the top of the nose, heading towards the top of the head. And when you get near the top, just throw in some sort of triangles for horn shapes, wherever you want. And then we're going to do a larger horn curving out from the left side of the head. Work your way across the top of the head, adding some more horn shapes. And then add your second larger horn curving outwards from the top right of the oval. And then settle that in using some more sort of triangle shapes at the top. Curve under the nose, and this sort of open mouth, only slightly, finishes on the right hand side of the oval, and then leave a gap where the mouth is slightly open. Add a couple little triangles for small teeth. Draw underneath the chin using jaggedy lines to just give a bit of texture to the head shape, and adding a few larger, just change that, add a few larger kind of horn shapes as you get further up the back of the head. At the tip of the nose, add little curved lines for the nostrils on the right and left. And then we want to look at the eyes, not too big. Draw a curved line over the top and then just shade at the bottom end. We'll come and add more detail in the full shading section. And then a smaller shape on the left side, you wouldn't see that entire eye. And then add some just little texture details moving back up the top of the head. And we'll come in more detail when we do the shading video later. Again, just add a few more details. And we see the head starting to take shape. Add some lines in for texture to give it that sort of horn detail. Next, strengthen the line for the back of the neck as you come down towards the shoulder. And add in some sort of fin details at the back. These are kind of like large wavy triangles. And then do a little bit of shading underneath the chin, which we'll come back and do a lot more of later. Okay, where to next? I think what we'll do is just add a little bit more shading and detail around the top of the head. And a little dark inside the mouth just to accentuate that. And again, just a bit more detail on the teeth inside the mouth, just little triangle shapes. All right, that's the head done. Let's move on to the left-hand wing. So we'll start, we're using a bat wing for our model here. So we've got like a skeleton inside. And start at the left-hand shoulder and strengthen that first line we did. And we're going to just bring our pencil curving round down towards the tip of the wing. and that's the outline for the arm that's connected to the wing. Follow the line back up, just widening slightly as we get towards the shoulder. But there's a little wing detail here that curves around, attaching in. Again, it's based on a bat's wing. So draw a curved line for that, and then underneath we draw the armpit shape as a curve. And just add a bit of shading there. Now work our way upwards, curving to a point near towards the top horn, and then add a little triangle at the top. Sort of pointy shape, and then back down, and then loop around and back up again. So you can see that kind of bat wing quality we're giving it. And then again, adding another spike, and do the same again. This time coming up less high, and heading back down, following our original line. Adding another little spike detail, and gently curve around. Popping your pencil outwards again, and then down towards the tip. Now adding a claw detail onto the bottom in a minute. So we've got a curve around. It's not quite a hand, but the dragon's got a claw on the end of its wing. So draw that in nice and big at the tip with a flattened at the back. And now we want to add in the bone structure, which is holding the wings together. So drawing some lines coming from the center point at the bottom. Draw a line to meet up with those spikes at the top, sort of fanning outwards. And then start low again. Find your next point. I'm going to go from the top this time. Down to the bottom, just curving a little bit as you move, and then just drawing another parallel line. Do it sketch. We don't want it exact because we'll pick these details up when we shade in. So we're doing the same again. Oh, just start that again. And again, just doing little parallel lines up. And you can see that's the detail for the inside of the wing. And that's pretty much done. Just adding a couple darker spots there. And let's put a little detail underneath that just to ground it in the drawing. Okay, onto the right wing. So, same as before, start with a shoulder detail. And we're going to outline the arm that's connected to the wing on the right side. So going low in the armpit, little triangle shape. And then we're going to do that wing detail. So curving across, it's attached to the inner arm. And then almost like a sail. And then outline the arm curving around and then just narrowing towards the tip of the wing. Again, just darkening a bit, and then we're drawing the claw detail on the end. So just draw a sort of squarish end to the wing, and now we're going to curve nice and wide round. Again, just use sketchy lines; doesn't have to be perfect. And again, draw a little claw detail at the end there, and then looping backwards quite wide towards the top right of the page. Add another point or claw detail at the top. A little bit closer this time. If any Batman fans, it looks a little bit like the Bat Cape. And just basically doing U shapes which narrow to the bottom, and this one's wider towards another tip. And then join it back up to the arm with a little curve, finishing quite high up near the shoulder. Let's do that again. Okay, that's a basic outline. Doing another large claw on the bottom of the right wing. And a few little sketch lines giving some texture. Again, we'll draw up the bone structure. So this is the central bones running up the kind of bat wing, if you like, or I should say the wyvern wing. Same as on the other side, just drawing sketch lines with a slight curve at the bottom third, and then do a parallel line following it. And just use your pencil between the tip of the wing and the claw details at the top. Almost there. And again, just following around the bottom. It gives it that nice sense of structure. Quite pleased with how this is looking, actually. Okay, nearly there. Let's move on to the body and the legs, which are in the background of the drawing. So let's tighten up these lines a bit. Let's darken them over. Curve down past the leg a little bit for the body, and then for the leg, just add a little bit of jagged details and darken the lines we'd already made. It wants to curve outwards and then back down for the top of the foot. And then leave little diagonal lines for each of the toes. It's got basically 3 main claws and a kind of toe claw. Curve around the back of the foot. And then square off each of your toe details. Or claw details. And then add in quite large rounded arc shapes for each claw, and then have the one that's in the sort of thumb position pointing out the other way, and just add a bit of shading around it, and just add some lines for the kind of tendons in the foot. Curve around the base, and it should be quite narrow at this point, and that's where the tail joins the body. Let's do that again. So, like I said, like not quite to a point, but to a curved point, if you like. And then, again, darken the line we already drew, and almost curve it right back round, and do the same again, little diagonal lines for each of the sort of clawed toes. Square off each one and add a claw on the end, just a curved triangle. A bit of shading on the lower end. Last one, and of course you won't see the last claw, it's on the behind the wing, but just curve back around so we can detail that foot, and it should just kick out a little bit there and then back in towards the body, and then give it some width around the top. So he needs to be quite powerful legs, and we're pretty much there. Just add in a little jagged details for the tail, and we need that tail's gonna be quite large again, so another line around the back where the tail's starting to curve around towards the wing. And the last thing we've got to draw is the end of the tail, which is curving back round from the right wing. So just nice sketchy loose lines, adding little jaggedy bits for the kind of spines on the tail. Finish with a kind of mixture of zigzag ends, and then curve it back, just widening to the tip and adding those sort of spine details on at the top, and then just shade around the lower area. We draw some sort of rocks and a bit of detail just to ground the sketch, really, so it feels like this wyvern is in a landscape, although we're not going to draw too much around the background. So just adding a few little sketch details for kind of rocks and bits of earth below, and we're pretty much done. Thanks for sketching along with me today. If you enjoyed building this wyvern outline, you're going to love the next step. We'll be shading this creature to really bring it to life with shadows and texture. That tutorial's coming tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on so you don't miss it. I'd also love to know what pose, creature or challenge should I draw next. Drop your ideas in the comments and I might feature your suggestion in an upcoming video. Thanks again for drawing with me, and see you next time.